Imagine one of the most influential musicians in the world, John Legend, stepping out of the studio and directly addressing a former president. Not with music, not with interviews, but with blunt, unfiltered advice about how to earn the Nobel Peace Prize. That's exactly what happened, and the reactions have been explosive online. For years, Donald Trump has expressed frustration that he hasn't been recognized with the prestigious award, which celebrates those who promote global peace. Now, Legend isn't holding back. He's telling Trump in no uncertain terms to rethink his actions, to focus on real peace initiatives, and to stop behaviors that make him appear authoritarian. Legend's message wasn't just about international diplomacy, it touched on some of the most controversial aspects of Trump's tenure. From the ongoing conflict in Gaza and Israel to the humanitarian crises in the West Bank, Legend highlighted the destruction and suffering that millions of people have endured over the past 2 years. He acknowledged Trump's role in the recent peace negotiations, calling them a possible step toward a lasting solution. But he made it clear that achieving true recognition requires a major shift in behavior. And Legend didn't stop there. He expanded his advice to domestic issues, criticizing the use of unaccountable ICE agents, poor funding decisions, and actions that have targeted political opponents. In short, he told Trump to stop the authoritarian dictator moves, to pause aggressive policies, and to focus on genuine leadership that benefits humanity. The way Legend delivered this advice was striking. He spoke as if he were addressing his own children, blending authority with care, pushing for change while keeping it personal. It's rare to see a celebrity speak so directly and passionately to a political figure, and that's why the story immediately went viral. Social media erupted, with reactions ranging from agreement and support to sharp criticism and disbelief. So what exactly did Legend say about the international conflicts, the peace deals, and the behaviors that could make or break Trump's Nobel chances? And why is this creating such a massive divide online? Stick around, because the next section reveals the details that everyone's talking about. As the conversation shifted to the Middle East, John Legend made it clear that the path to a Nobel Peace Prize isn't just about flashy speeches or behind-the-scenes lobbying, it's about real-world consequences. He spoke candidly about the horrors faced by civilians in Gaza and Israel, painting a picture of cities torn apart, families displaced, and communities struggling to survive. Legend emphasized that while Trump has been involved in recent peace negotiations, the stakes are enormous, and the outcomes will define his legacy. Legend didn't shy away from naming the events that have escalated tensions. He referenced the October 7th attack by Hamas on Israel, describing the shock, fear, and chaos that ensued. But he also highlighted the devastating response that followed. Cities obliterated, tens of thousands of innocent Gazans suffering from starvation, injury, and loss. The singer stressed that any true claim to peace must come from actions that stop this cycle of destruction, not from political posturing or media appearances. What made this moment particularly striking was Legend's tone, measured, urgent, but also deeply personal. He wasn't lecturing, he was pleading for humanity. He repeatedly framed the conflict in human terms, reminding viewers that behind every headline are families, children, and communities who live through war every day. By doing so, he forced the audience to confront the reality behind political debates, making it impossible to ignore the moral dimension of leadership. And then he pivoted, shifting from the global stage to domestic policies, connecting the dots for viewers. Legend suggested that Trump's path to international recognition is tied to how he treats people at home. Actions that might seem minor in the political arena, like sending ICE agents into communities, cutting humanitarian aid, or targeting political opponents, could overshadow any diplomatic achievements abroad. According to Legend, these choices aren't just political. They are ethical statements that reflect the character of a leader and ultimately influence whether the world sees him as deserving of accolades like the Nobel Peace Prize. But that wasn't the whole story. Legend hinted that achieving lasting peace, both globally and at home, requires a shift in mindset, not just policy. He stressed that actions speak louder than words, and that Trump's global image depends on genuine accountability and restraint. This wasn't just advice, it was a challenge, framed in a way that viewers could feel the tension, the stakes, and the potential consequences. And just when you think Legend had said it all, he prepared to hit harder with a critique of Trump's broader pattern of behavior. What came next would shock many viewers and ignite conversations across social media, pushing this story from politics into cultural debate. Legend didn't stop at the Middle East. He zoomed in on the domestic stage, pointing to the ways Trump's policies have impacted everyday Americans. He painted a vivid picture of communities under strain, describing neighborhoods where ICE agents move in masked and unaccountable, creating fear instead of safety. Legend argued that these actions, combined with uneven funding decisions and a hardline approach to political opponents, create a leadership style that undercuts the possibility of earning respect or a Nobel Peace Prize. But he didn't just critique, he offered guidance. Legend framed his advice almost like a mentor speaking to a wayward student, urging Trump to change your behavior if he truly wants recognition. He stressed that international awards are not just about deals or optics. They reflect moral leadership, compassion, and the ability to protect the most vulnerable. In Legend's eyes, a shift in attitude could have ripple effects, ending unnecessary hardships for communities, restoring faith in U.S. leadership, and finally giving Trump a path to the global recognition he craves. The section gained tension as Legend connected these policies to human stories. He highlighted the suffering of ordinary people caught in the crossfire of political decisions, families struggling under economic strain, children facing insecurity, and immigrants living with constant fear. By grounding his points in real-world consequences, Legend made abstract political critiques emotionally compelling, forcing viewers to consider the human stakes behind leadership decisions. Then came a dramatic turn. Legend emphasized that while Trump may focus on personal recognition or praise, the real path to respect, and potentially a peace prize, is through humility, empathy, and action. This pivot added suspense, leaving viewers questioning whether any leader could shift so dramatically and what it would take for someone like Trump to truly earn a global accolade. And just when it seemed the narrative had reached its peak, Legend teased the next challenge: actions on the global stage and public perception that could either make or break Trump's reputation entirely. The stakes were set, the tension palpable, and viewers were left hanging on what could happen next. Legend shifted focus from domestic policy to the global stage, zeroing in on the fragile situation in the Middle East. He painted a stark picture of Gaza and Israel, emphasizing that peace is more than a headline. It's a matter of life and death for thousands of people. He highlighted the devastating aftermath of the October 7th Hamas attack, with hostages held and cities left in ruins, then pointed out the intensity of the Israeli response, which left tens of thousands in Gaza suffering from violence, starvation, and displacement. Legend framed the situation as a moral test, not just for Trump, but for the world watching. He suggested that if the president truly wants the Nobel Peace Prize, it's not enough to claim credit or negotiate behind closed doors. He must take meaningful action that eases human suffering. Legend's tone grew urgent, warning that the eyes of history are on leaders, and those who fail to prioritize humanity risk losing both credibility and respect. He also made a subtle but impactful contrast between symbolic gestures and tangible results. While Trump may pursue accolades and political wins, Legend argued that the real measure of leadership is whether ordinary people see positive change in their lives. By tying the abstract idea of a Nobel Peace Prize to the concrete suffering of civilians, he forced viewers to reflect: is ambition enough, or must it be paired with ethical action? Then came a twist. Legend reminded viewers that Trump's global perception isn't shaped only by the Middle East conflict. Domestic actions and international scrutiny collide. Decisions on humanitarian aid, USAID funding, and overseas interventions all factor into the narrative of a leader's legacy. This connection heightened tension as it suggested that even small missteps could undermine any chance at the prize. As the section closed, Legend teased the next layer: personal responsibility and self-reflection. He implied that real change requires looking inward, correcting patterns of behavior, and acting with integrity, a concept that left viewers questioning if transformation is even possible for someone like Trump. The suspense lingered, keeping the audience engaged and eager to see what advice would come next. Next, Legend turned directly to Trump's personal habits and leadership style, shifting from global policy to accountability at home. He didn't hold back, framing his advice like a coach speaking to a struggling player. If Trump truly wants recognition, he must stop patterns that undermine his credibility. Legend called out the use of ICE agents in immigrant communities, stressing that actions that harm ordinary people erode trust and respect, both domestically and internationally. He also criticized the targeting of political opponents, pointing out that the perception of unfairness can overshadow any diplomatic achievement. By highlighting these behaviors, Legend made it clear that earning a Peace Prize isn't just about headlines or deals. It's about consistent, ethical leadership. The section was peppered with vivid examples, like funding cuts, humanitarian aid restrictions, and even military missteps in regions like the Caribbean, which painted a broader picture of consequences for real people. Legend's approach was both firm and almost parental. He compared advising Trump to guiding a child, emphasizing that change comes through recognition of mistakes and willingness to correct them. This comparison was relatable and humanized the narrative, giving viewers a frame to understand the stakes without feeling lectured. He then tied the domestic and international spheres together. Peace on the world stage, Legend argued, is inseparable from justice and fairness at home. Any Nobel Peace Prize ambition, he suggested, requires credibility, empathy, and responsibility, not just political maneuvering. By framing the advice this way, the section built tension. Viewers were left wondering whether Trump could truly make the changes needed, keeping curiosity high. Finally, Legend teased a moral challenge. Achieving global respect requires internal reflection. The audience was left with a provocative question: can someone change habits ingrained over decades, or is ambition alone insufficient? This lingering uncertainty created suspense and set up the next section perfectly. Legend didn't stop at advice. He highlighted the stakes in a way that made the issue feel urgent and personal. He painted a vivid picture of the people affected by Trump's decisions, from everyday Americans to global citizens caught in conflict zones. He stressed that real lives are at risk, not just political reputations, reminding viewers that peace isn't a theoretical concept. It's the difference between safety and suffering for thousands of families. He also pointed out the gap between public perception and behind-the-scenes actions. Legend warned that while some may focus on headline deals or PR stunts, the world judges based on consistent behavior. Sending masked ICE agents into communities or cutting aid for the vulnerable, he suggested, leaves a mark that even a Nobel committee can't ignore. By framing it this way, Legend made the abstract consequences of leadership concrete and relatable, keeping viewers engaged. Then came the tension-building contrast. Legend acknowledged Trump's accomplishments, like negotiating peace deals in the Middle East, but immediately juxtaposed them with the failures in domestic governance. This created a narrative, push and pull. Viewers could see both sides of the story and felt compelled to follow along to understand how it might resolve. Legend also used language that combined moral authority with human relatability. By comparing his advice to parenting, he reminded the audience that accountability is universal. Everyone, even a powerful leader, can and should be guided toward better choices. This metaphor made the political discussion more accessible while increasing emotional investment. Finally, he left a subtle cliffhanger. Can ambition alone earn a leader global respect, Or must character and action align first? The unanswered question was deliberate, keeping viewers curious and primed for the next section. The suspense encouraged not just engagement, but repeat viewings, as audiences might return to catch nuances they may have missed. As the story reaches its conclusion, Legend's message lingers like a challenge. He didn't just offer advice, he set the stage for accountability, making it clear that admiration or recognition cannot replace genuine, consistent action. Viewers are left considering the weight of leadership, the ripple effects of decisions, and the fine line between ambition and responsibility. The narrative closes with a subtle, suspenseful question. Will Trump heed the advice, or will history remember ambition overshadowed by missteps? By framing it this way, the story doesn't simply end. It invites reflection, debate, and discussion. The audience is compelled to think critically, consider multiple perspectives, and even revisit the video to catch the details they may have missed. Legend's approach also reinforces the emotional stakes. He balanced critique with hope, painting a picture where positive change is possible if the right choices are made. This duality, the tension between what is and what could be, keeps viewers emotionally engaged until the very last second. Finally, the ending subtly hints at the broader consequences for the world and America's image on the global stage. By connecting personal behavior to international perception, the section elevates the narrative beyond a celebrity commentary or political advice segment. It becomes a story about influence, responsibility, and legacy. The cliffhanger invites viewers to discuss, debate, and return, ensuring the video's content continues to resonate long after it ends.